I'm 88 years old. I've lived through 13 presidents, I've buried 2 spouses, 3 business partners, and more friends than I care to count. I've accumulated more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. I've received awards I can't remember, and recognition that means nothing now. And I'm here to tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. Almost everything I was taught about life was wrong. Not slightly off, not a little misguided, catastrophically, devastatingly wrong. The people who raised me, good people, well-meaning people, filled my head with ideas about success, happiness, relationships, and meaning that turned out to be elaborate fairy tales. And I spent 60 years of my life chasing those fairy tales before I woke up and realized I'd been running in the wrong direction the entire time. So before I leave this world, I'm going to tell you what I wish someone had told me when I was your age. Because you're being fed the same lies right now. You're swallowing them whole. And if you don't stop, you're going to wake up at 88 years old sitting exactly where I'm sitting, filled with the same regret that fills me. Let me start with the biggest lie of all, that success equals achievement. I was taught that if I worked hard enough, climbed high enough, earned enough titles and accolades, I would feel successful. I would feel fulfilled. I would feel like I mattered. So I climbed. My God, did I climb. I graduated top of my class. I got into the best law school. I made partner at 32, youngest in the firm's history. I won cases that made headlines. I built a reputation. I built a fortune. I built everything I was told to build. And you know what I felt when I reached the top of that mountain? Nothing. Actually, that's not true. I felt tired. I felt empty. I felt like I'd spent 3 decades sprinting toward a finish line that kept moving further away. Because here's what they don't tell you about achievement. It's a drug. Every accomplishment gives you a brief high, and then you need more. A bigger case, a larger client, a better title. You become an addict chasing a feeling that lasts approximately 48 hours before the anxiety of what's next sets in. I remember the day I won the biggest case of my career. It was 1982. The verdict came in at 4:17 p.m. on a Thursday. My client, a major corporation, stood to gain $60 million from my work. The courtroom erupted. My team celebrated. The press wanted interviews. I got home at 11 p.m. that night. My wife was already asleep. My daughter, she was 7 then, had left me a drawing on the kitchen table. A stick-figure daddy holding hands with a stick-figure daughter. The caption said, "I miss you." I looked at that drawing for maybe 15 seconds. Then I put it in a drawer and went to bed, already thinking about the next case. That drawing is still in that drawer. My daughter is 49 years old now. We talk maybe once a month. Brief calls, surface-level conversations. She has her own life, her own children, my grandchildren, who I barely know. And I won that case in 1982. I can't remember my client's name. I can't remember what the case was about. I can remember the dollar amount, $60 million, but I cannot remember a single detail of the work that supposedly defined that year of my life. But I remember that drawing. I remember the exact curve of the stick figure's smile. I remember the purple crayon she used for my tie. I remember "I miss you" in her 7-year-old handwriting. I was taught that professional success was the scoreboard of life. That achievement was the currency of worth. That the size of your accomplishments determined the size of your life. All lies. The second lie, that wealth equals security. I grew up during the Depression. My father lost everything in 1931. We ate potato soup 4 nights a week. My mother darned the same socks until they were more patched than sock. I wore my cousin's hand-me-down shoes until my toes poked through the front. So when I started making money, real money, I told myself I would never be vulnerable again. I would build a fortress of financial security so tall and so thick that no disaster could touch me. I saved, I invested, I diversified. I had retirement accounts and real estate portfolios and stocks and bonds and backup plans for my backup plans. And you know what all that security bought me? Fear. Because once you have something to lose, you spend every waking moment terrified of losing it. The market dips, and your stomach drops. A recession looms, and you can't sleep. Someone proposes a tax increase, and you feel personally attacked. I watched the Dow Jones more carefully than I watched my own children grow up. I knew the price of gold on any given Tuesday, but I couldn't tell you what my son wanted to be when he grew up. Spoiler, he wanted to be a musician. I told him to get a real job. He became an accountant. He's miserable. We don't talk about it. The wealthier I became, the smaller my world got. I stopped taking risks. I stopped trying new things. I surrounded myself only with people who could help maintain or grow my wealth. I optimized my entire existence around preservation. And here I am at 88, sitting on more money than I could spend if I lived to 188. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, financial security is an illusion. There is no amount of money that makes you feel safe. There is always something to worry about, always something to protect, always something to fear. My best friend from college, his name was Robert, died 5 years ago. Robert was a carpenter. He made maybe $40,000 a year at his peak. He lived in a small house. He drove used cars. He took one vacation a year to the same cabin in Vermont. At his funeral, the church was packed, standing room only. People flew in from across the country. Person after person stood up and told stories about how Robert had changed their lives, how he'd helped them build their first deck, how he'd taught them to appreciate craftsmanship, how he'd shown them that work could be art if you approached it with love. Robert's daughter spoke. She said her father was the richest man she ever knew, not because of what he had, but because of how he lived. He worked with his hands and came home tired, but satisfied. He spent evenings with his family. He knew his neighbors. He died knowing he'd built beautiful things that would outlast him. My funeral is pre-planned. It's going to be small, mostly professional acquaintances, people who knew my resume, but never knew me. I have more money than Robert ever dreamed of. He had more life than I'll ever experience. The third lie, that busyness equals importance. I wore my overscheduled calendar like a badge of honor, back-to-back meetings, early mornings, late nights, weekends at the office. I was important because I was busy. I was valuable because I was indispensable. I was successful because I had no time. Do you know what busyness actually means? It means you never made a choice about what mattered. You let other people's priorities become your priorities. You let urgency determine your schedule instead of importance. I missed my son's first words because I was in a deposition. I missed my daughter's high school graduation because I had a client emergency. I missed my father's last lucid conversation because I was on a conference call that I cannot remember and that accomplished absolutely nothing. But I was busy. I was so terribly, importantly busy. Here's what I know now. Busyness is cowardice. It's easier to fill your calendar than to examine your life. It's easier to respond to other people's demands than to define your own values. It's easier to be busy than to be present. When you're busy, you get to avoid the hard questions. What do I actually want? What brings me joy? Who do I love? What matters? I avoided those questions for 60 years. And now I have all the time in the world, and most of the people I should have spent it with are gone. The fourth lie, that credentials equal wisdom. I have degrees from prestigious universities. I have certifications and qualifications. I've been published in journals. I've been quoted in newspapers. I was introduced at conferences as an expert. And I spent most of my life confusing education with understanding. I thought because I could analyze legal precedent, I could analyze life. I thought because I was trained in logic, I understood truth. Here's what all my credentials couldn't teach me: how to comfort a crying child, how to apologize when I was wrong, how to sit with someone in pain without trying to fix it, how to love someone without conditions, how to be wrong without defending myself, how to fail without collapsing. I knew constitutional law inside and out. I didn't know my wife's favorite flower. She liked peonies. I found out at her funeral when her sister mentioned it. Some of the wisest people I've ever met never went to college. My housekeeper, Maria, she raised 4 kids on a cleaning salary. She put all 4 through school. She kept her marriage alive for 43 years. She volunteers at a homeless shelter every Saturday. Maria knows things I never learned in any classroom. She knows how to show up. She knows how to persist. She knows how to love people when they're unlovable. She knows how to find joy in ordinary moments. I have a law degree from Yale. Maria has wisdom. I would trade my credentials for her understanding in a heartbeat. The 5th lie, that you have time to fix things later. This is the most dangerous lie of all, because it's technically true until suddenly it's not. You do have time to repair that relationship until the person dies. You do have time to pursue that dream until your health fails. You do have time to say the important things until the moment passes and never comes back. I told myself for years that I would reconnect with my brother. We had a falling out in 1987. I can't even remember what it was about. Something stupid, something pride-related. I thought I'll reach out next month, next year, when things settle down. My brother died in 2019. We hadn't spoken in 32 years. At his funeral, his daughter, my niece, who I'd never met, showed me a letter he'd written. It was addressed to me. He'd written it in 2003 and never sent it. In it, he apologized for whatever our fight had been about. He said he missed me. He said he was sorry. He said he hoped we could talk someday. He'd been waiting for me to make the first move. I'd been waiting for the right time. We both ran out of time. I have a list of phone calls I was going to make. I have a list of trips I was going to take. I have a list of conversations I was going to have. I have a list of letters I was going to write. I'm 88 years old. Most of the people on those lists are dead. Most of those trips are no longer physically possible. Most of those conversations will never happen. Later is a place you never arrive at. It's a fantasy destination that vanishes the moment you reach for it. Now let me tell you what I've learned is actually true. The only thing that matters is how you made people feel. That's it. That's the whole game. Not what you accomplished, not what you accumulated, not what titles you held or awards you won. When you're gone, and you will be gone, people will remember how you made them feel. Did you make them feel seen? Did you make them feel valued? Did you make them feel loved? Did you make them feel safe? Or did you make them feel small, unimportant, invisible, alone? I made a lot of people feel insignificant. I made my children feel like they came second to my work. I made my wives feel like they were accessories to my career. I made my friends feel like they were networking opportunities. And now I'm old and I'm alone, and the only people who visit me are paid to be here. The second truth: presence is the only gift that matters. Not expensive presents, not grand gestures, just showing up, being there, putting down your phone, making eye contact, listening, really listening when someone talks. I gave my children everything except my presence. I bought them the best schools, the best clothes, the best opportunities. I gave them trust funds and connections and advice. I didn't give them me. I didn't give them Saturday mornings or bedtime stories or unscheduled conversations. I didn't give them the gift of my attention, my time, my full self. They would have traded it all for a father who came to their soccer games. I know this because my daughter told me during one of our rare honest conversations. She said, I would have lived in a smaller house if it meant having a dad who was actually home. The third truth: love requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires courage. I spent my life armored, protected, defended. I never let anyone see me struggle or fail or doubt. I thought strength meant never showing weakness. So I never told my first wife that I was terrified of being a father. I never told my business partner that I was drowning in anxiety. I never told my children that I was doing the best I could and wasn't sure it was enough. I thought vulnerability was weakness. It's actually the only path to real connection. The people who loved me never got to know me. I never gave them the chance. I kept everyone at arm's length, including the people who deserved my full heart. The fourth truth: your body will give out long before you're ready. You think you're invincible. You think you'll always be able to do the things you do now. You think you have infinite physical tomorrows. You don't. I used to hike. I used to travel. I used to walk through museums for hours. I used to dance with my wife in the kitchen. Now I can barely walk from my bedroom to the bathroom without getting winded. My hands shake too much to write. My eyes are failing. My hearing is going. My body is betraying me piece by piece. And all those things I was going to do someday? The trek through Patagonia, the tour of Japanese temples, the cooking class in Tuscany, the dance lessons with my wife. Too late. My body said no before I said yes. Use your body while you have it. Move it. Challenge it. Take it places. Don't save it for later, like it's a nice sweater you're waiting for the right occasion to wear. The fifth truth: the things you think matter don't. The things you think don't matter do. I thought deals mattered, cases mattered, victories mattered, reputation mattered. Here's what actually mattered. The time my daughter asked me to read her a story, and I said yes instead of no. The afternoon, I canceled a meeting to have lunch with my wife. The evening, I sat with my dying mother and held her hand instead of checking my email. Those moments, the tiny, ordinary, seemingly insignificant moments when I chose connection over achievement, those are the only things I remember with joy. Those are the only things that feel real when everything else has faded. Everything else is fog, just fog. So what do you do with this information? What do you do when an 88-year-old woman tells you that almost everything you believe is wrong? You have a choice. You can dismiss this. You can tell yourself, that won't happen to me. I'll figure it out. I have time. Or you can wake up right now, today. You can call the person you've been meaning to call. You can apologize for the thing you've been too proud to apologize for. You can quit the job that's killing you. You can start the project you've been postponing. You can tell someone you love them. You can show up. You can stop waiting for permission, for the right moment, for perfect conditions, for someday. Because I'm here to tell you, someday doesn't come. There is no perfect moment. The conditions will never be ideal. Permission doesn't arrive. There is only now, this moment, this breath, this heartbeat. And the terrifying, beautiful truth is that you don't know how many more you get. I thought I had unlimited tomorrows. I was wrong. So catastrophically wrong. Don't make my mistakes. Don't wait. Don't postpone. Don't trade your life for things that don't matter. Live now. Love now. Show up now. Be vulnerable now. Take the trip now. Have the conversation now. Make the change now. Because 88 comes faster than you think, and you cannot go back. You cannot retrieve wasted years. You cannot resurrect dead relationships. You cannot reclaim lost moments. I'm sitting here at the edge, looking back at a life that was full of accomplishments and empty of joy. A life that looked successful from the outside and felt hollow on the inside. A life that followed all the rules and missed the whole point. Don't let that be your story. You still have time. Not unlimited time. Not forever. But right now, in this moment, you have a chance I no longer have. Use it. If this message resonated with you, if it challenged you, if it made you think about your own life and choices, consider subscribing to this channel. Not because I need your subscription, but because maybe, just maybe, you need these reminders. You need someone to tell you the truth that everyone else is too polite or too scared to say. You need someone who's already at the end to tell you what matters before you get there yourself. Subscribe, not for me, for you.